More than around 400 years ago, a very renowned chemist and physician, Paracelsus, once said, all substances are poison. The thing that differentiates between substance and remedy is the right dose. Today we are here to commemorate, celebrate, and educate on the common issues that are related to patient safety. We are at Getz Pharma, also in line with the WHO mandate of creating an environment where medication does not provide any harm to all of the patients. To do this, I have expert panelists with us, and today, who would be the best expert in Pakistan? Abdul Latif Sheikh. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
How are you, sir?
I'm all right. Thank you so much.
That's great.
So I think it's great to be here, really, to talk some of the elements, some of the factors, some of the situations which you have very rightly brought out. The only thing is, I think we did not consider substance to be poison 400 years ago. I think we started looking at them very, very recently, actually.
That's right. That's right. Sir, what are the 5 moments? We were just, when I was thinking to meet you, started working on it. So I thought, 5 moments of medication safety. What is to a layman? ये क्या चीज़ है, sir?
I think अगर आप इसको थोड़ा सा stretch out करें, you see, whatever the national, international, or global trends are, WHO has a tendency to really, in many ways, upgrade themselves.
Right.
They would want to sort of bring out health issues which are very prevalent globally. And I would even take the liberty of saying that more so in developing countries, their focus will be. So when they say 5 moments of medication safety, they're talking about, like, you should know. They're looking at more of a multidisciplinary approach.
Okay.
If I can narrate to you, give you a narrative.
Sure.
Medication is the most well-known intervention in any healthcare system.
That's right.
Right? You go and see a physician, he intervenes by giving you medicine.
That's right.
In any other arena, usage of medication is the most prominent and probably on the top intervention to improve your health or cure whatever diseases you have. So WHO of lately, as I said before, I think patient safety and medication safety has become one of the important element. So that's where they have come up with, they're looking at focusing, for example, 5 moments. One of the moment will be when you are starting a medication.
All right. So these moments are for physicians or patients, or who else?
I think it run all across the horizons. It include healthcare professional. It would include physician, pharmacist, nurse, patient. But patient, I think, is the focal point.
All right. It's the center point.
It is a central point because you see, whoever HCPs are, their ultimate objective is, it should be patient focused.
Right.
The patient should have should be saved from all these poison.
So whatever goes around, the patient remains in the center.
Has to be. As a matter of fact, lately I would even just add a couple of things into this. It's a multidisciplinary approach. A lot of healthcare worker and focusing the patient, because your ultimate objective is your patient satisfaction, your patient's well-being.
The ultimate beneficiary is the patient.
Ultimately beneficiary is the patient. Unfortunately, if it is not, then I would not say even if it's a proper healthcare system. That's one thing, medication. You're taking your medications.
All right.
Because there are lots of dynamic, how do you take your medication? What time of the day you do that? Do you take it with the food? You take it without food? What are its timing? What are the other medication you are taking along with it because of potential for various interaction?
All right.
drug-to-drug interaction.
Taking medication means before you start taking medication, you start thinking about the medication, like, or what?
No, I think the thought process you have done at the first stage when you're starting a medication. When I'm saying taking medication, you are ingesting, you are taking by mouth.
All right.
What should be your timing? What are the other medication you are taking? So at the same time, because there is always an interaction, what food you are taking, because it would have an impact. So it is both for the earlier question you asked was, is it only for the healthcare professional? It's only for the patient. And I suggested that it's multiple. It's both for the healthcare professional and for the patient. So until and unless they work together, they have to complement each other.
All right.
You know, when it comes to medication, they have to complement each other. So they're taking other medication. You see, if you look at a patient, at some stage, the patient would be adding on certain medication. So that's another component of five moments.
That's right.
See, if you are adding medication, what would be interaction of that medication with the one you're already taking? Do you require to stop a medication which you're already taking? Do you adjust its dose? Does it have any kind of an interaction of the older medication with the newer medication? Do you need to stop some medication while you are adding on a new medication to your profile? So that's another moments, you know, which WHO has highlighted for that.
This is that they just used the term interaction. What does it to layman? What does it mean?
Well, to the layman is, you see, when you take couple of medications together, they would have some interaction with each other. They might either enhances the medication therapeutic activity which you are already taking, or it might stop it. For example, I can just narrate it here. There are medication which should be taken in empty stomach.
Right.
Now, if you are taking that medicine while you have a full meal, uski absorption jo hai, it will be affected by it.
All right.
So that's the reason. There is a very important component.
Absorption मतलब absorb नहीं होगा तो affect नहीं आएगा.
Effect नहीं आएगा. Obviously वो अगर आपके stomach से या system से blood stream में नहीं जाती, तो उसका वो impact नहीं होगा जो कि होना चाहिए, या उसका delayed onset होगा action का.
Okay.
So therefore they are a very, very important element, you know, when you're taking medication and how you're taking them. Then it comes to, for example, stopping medication is a very fundamental and important element. You see, for example, if you have medication you're supposed to be taking only for 1 week.
Yes. And
then you, at liberty, you can keep on taking it.
Yes.
That's one thing you should be very cognizant of it, that you should realize that ये जो मेरी medicine है, this is only for a certain length of time. It is not, indefinitely. It's not infinity. And on the other hand, there are some medication you must be taking all the time.
Right.
वो ये नहीं हो. For example, blood pressure की, diabetes की हैं. अब उसको आपको आराम नहीं आता उनसे. You are taking medication to manage your diseases. You are managing your diabetes. You are managing your hypertension. So it is very important. ये जो 5 moments which WHO is sort of highlighting it, I think it impacts every person, at least who's on medication. And I think it should be recognizing these elements, how it is going to have an impact on his overall health. So it's very important. I think it's a very important initiative by WHO, and it's more so in environments where there's mass population. And now the things are changing. People on hypertension, people who have diabetes.
Yes.
I think they require special kind of counseling.
Yeah.
Special kind of sort of guidelines. Special kind of how the medication which they're taking would have a proper impact, proper therapeutic effect.
That's right. So stopping medication, does it include many people stop taking antibiotics after 3-4 days, despite of the fact they have to continue it for 7 days or 10 days,
I would even go to an extent of saying that this kind of practices has led to antibiotics resistance in the communities and the societies.
Yes.
Because for any antibiotics to be effective, for any antibiotics to eradicate the infection you have had, it must be taken for at least minimum of 7 to 10 days. Now, in any community or in any environment, if you're taking medication like for 2 to 3 days and your infection is suppressed and you stop taking medication, you're going to have a rebound infection.
Right.
So antibiotics, particularly antibiotics, you must take it for a certain specific number of days in order for you to avoid further reinfections at a later stages. So that's, I think it's not a good practice. I think it should be discouraged, and it should be discouraged at every care point. I mean, may that be a pharmacy, may that be a physician, may that be anybody. And I think you didn't ask me, but I'll add another thing. Never allow your medication to be used by somebody else.
What does it mean? Like
if I'm taking an antibiotics and I feel good and I have like 4 or 5 capsules left in my drawer, and I say, Dr. Jahanzeb, oh, this worked for me real good. Why don't you try?
Why don't you try this? Right.
And it happens all the time.
Yes.
And I don't want to sort of dilate on it, but it has led to some serious issues, social issues. Social issues. And if you allow me, I can give you an example. You see, there are certain countries where benzodiazepines are sold over the counter.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And half of the population, half of the user, let's not say population, users, they're using it, for sleeping aid.
Yes.
And it's a very common element in certain communities. It's oh, why don't you? Oh, you're having insomnia, you can't sleep. Take this. I've been taking it for many months, and it works for me.
Yeah.
That kind of attitude has actually, there are studies available, that kind of an attitude have led to benzodiazepine addictions.
That's right.
In the communities and in the societies. So, in your intro, you mentioned 400 years ago, some chemists, philosophers, and doctors who said, treat them as poison. I think he's absolutely right. Absolutely right. Look at medications as poison, because if you don't use them properly, they could really hurt you.
Yes.
And they could hurt you bad.
That's right.
So I think that should be one of the message coming out of this conversation which we are having probably.
Yes. So there are 5 important moments for patient medication safety. So which one is the most important for you?
Wow, that's a difficult one. I think the first one would be, I would say starting the medication, both from a prescriber point of view and both for a patient point of view. I think that a lot of reflection goes into your initial step, because when you're starting a medication, you're not deciding randomly.
That's right. It's a very thoughtful decision.
It's a tough decision.
Very tough decision.
Really. Yeah. You're probably looking at some diagnostics. You're looking at some lab.
Yes.
You have made certain assessment that what is wrong with this patient.
Yes.
And then you're making a decision, this is how I am going to treat him.
That's right.
So starting a medication would be all the 5 points. I think starting the medication, in my view, I think it because it goes, a lot of your observation go into it, a lot of your assessment goes into it, your own clinical judgment, a clinical assessment goes into it, because that's the action which a physician is taking, starting the medication. But I think it is also a collaborative effort, because the patient also has a role into this, which we might not realize. Patient knows he has taken this medication or not before.
Right.
He might be taking maybe of a different brand or something. But I think there has to be a dialogue at this stage between the prescriber and the patient also. Patient should be asked, I am giving you this medication. Have you used it before? Do you have any kind of allergies? Has it had some negative impact on you while you're taking this medication? So to answer your question, I think starting the medication, a lot of thought process should be going into that decision of a prescriber, when I'm doing that.
Right. How do you how much detail one HCP or one doctor physician should tell about the side effects of the drug to the patients? Usually, when we talk to various HCPs, they refer to a nocebo effect, which is, if you tell them, they will have these side effects. So,
I think
what's your say on that?
My say would be that that interaction should take place, because that's a very important component of patient education. Okay.
Right.
Because there is no medication which does not have side effects. But there are some prominent ones. But let's say if there is an occurrence of 1 into 500,000 patient, though I probably will not pay too much attention to that.
That's right.
But you see, if I'm taking some medication and I am a person who drives a car, I'm a person who operates a machine, and I'm kind of taking a medication which can cause me a little bit of a drowsiness,
right,
I think the physician should inform me, look, you better be careful while you're taking this medication. So don't drive a vehicle.
Right.
Okay, be very careful.
Right.
And when it goes to an older patients, you see, I mean, they have a different dynamics also. Fall for them is very important. When you're looking at a geriatric or older patient with a cardiovascular problem,
right,
you see postural hypertension. When you all of a sudden you get up and you get this dizziness. I think all medication, the physician should inform the patient. There should be that dialogue. Look, it could cause you some dizziness, because if you don't, the patient is going to perceive something else is happening to him.
Right.
But if you inform him, you educate him, you communicate to him that, look, this is a normal side effects of a drug. It does not damage you, but it's normal, it's natural. It's something like if you overeat, you're going to have indigestion.
Right.
So, but this is a normal element, this is a normal outcome of this particular drug. And actually, the most drugs, like if you keep on taking them, it has its own, your body, your system gets used to it, and then you sort of develop adaptability to that particular drug also. But if you're taking a drug for the first time, but I think it's important that the physician, or even for that matter, the pharmacist, they should have this dialogue about the medication, informing the patient that, look, you got to be careful.
Right. And what is the responsibility of the user or the patient? Whenever they have some side effect, do they have to report?
I think they should, actually. I think because, you see, from a user point of view, it's more dynamics. And I'll give you another example. If I am having a side effects of a drug, so I need to inform the healthcare professional, maybe the physician, maybe if there is a reporting system in a country, I should say that, look, this is what is happening. Why you should say that? Because if there are large enough numbers who are going through that kind of side effects or that kind of an adverse reaction or whatever, because there will be a mechanism. Somebody will study the mechanism.
Yes, right.
And I think you're rendering an excellent social service to your own healthcare system by reporting it. You're fulfilling your social responsibility, even I would use the word, to use a drug. And if you are having any side effect, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is something negative by reporting it. All you're doing is you're documenting it. Look, this is what has happened with me, and the authorities, the pharmaceutical manufacturer, the companies, they would collect that data. If some reports like that are happening very frequently, so it tells the manufacturer also, look, we need to look at it, what exactly is going on. So I think it's a very, very important element.
Sir, any message you want to give to the audience, both doctors and also the patients, those who are taking drugs, related to these 5 moments of medication safety that we just talked about?
I think beside that 5 moments, I think they're crucial. Before you use the medication, when you're using the medication, while you're adding on the medication, while you're stopping the medication, you have to be very, very careful, because it should not be a random action. Right. It should not be like sort of unthought action. Oh, I'm just going to stop and I'm going to stop. This is one thing. And I think the second, I will pay you the compliment saying the drugs should be looked at as a poison. Don't look at it as a chocolate or candies.
That's right.
They're serious agent. They could really, they help you, but if you don't use appropriately, I think they could hurt you also.
That's right.
I think that's the message I would like to give.
Thank you, audience. Hopefully you had a lovely time today. Intense dialogue between me and Abdul Latif Sheikh Sahab. Just to recall you, Abdul Latif Sheikh Sahab is the President and CEO of Pakistan Society of Health System Pharmacists, and also sits on the advisory panel for JCIA USA. I'm really thankful to Abdul Latif Sheikh Sahab for coming up to us today and for this intense dialogue. Hopefully I'll meet you again with some other interesting topic. Thank you very much.